Hello everyone, this is Julie Ducray. Welcome to All Things Music. We have an exciting 30 minutes, so without any further ado, let's get it in. Quite often, people think that there's only one way of distributing your music, and that's through the record company. Well, I'm here to tell you that is the old form of music distribution. With the onset of the music millennium period, which started around 2007 and 2008, there were opportunities like never before for music artists, whether they were signed to a big label such as Sony or Warner Brothers. There were bigger opportunities available for artists to take more control of the distribution of their own music. And if you are a songwriter and a composer, this equates to a bigger piece of the pie. In other words, as the songwriter and composer, you own at least a minimum of 50% of the music. At least, so every time somebody buys your album or buys your single, the songwriter and composer receives the majority of the royalties that are paid resulting from the sale of the merchandise. Well, we had the explosion of the music millennial period, which changed everything. It changed the game. It prevented the record companies from monopolizing the entire industry. The record labels did not know what to do. They scrambled. Some record companies had to sell to other companies because they didn't know exactly what to do, how to stay afloat. And with the insurgence of hip-hop and rap music, that really changed the game. Because here, prior to, I'd say maybe the 1990, when more bands were being signed by major record companies, then the hip-hop explosion it evolved. It exploded. It went into the beyond the hemispheric galaxy, so to speak. And so these record companies did not know what to do. What am I going to do? Here you have these artists who are competing with major labels. The singer, songwriter, composer, and producer Ne-Yo. Before Ne-Yo even got a record deal, Ne-Yo had already sold 250,000 singles of his hit single, I forgot the name of it, on his own. And what was happening to Ne-Yo is that these record companies were seeing that, wow, artists can do this. There is money out there. So how do we figure this out? How do we get this money? Well, artists like Ne-Yo and artists like The Game, and there are some other artists out there. There was one, he worked with Jamie Foxx. Don't blame it, or blame it on the alcohol. I can't, who's that? I don't remember the guy's name right now because it's so very early in the morning and I have to sip. I need a little bit of caffeine. This is too early for me, especially when you're up until about 4:30 in the morning, not partying, but working. And so T-Pain, let me get another sip of caffeine. That was was good. T-Pain and other artists in his category were successful at creating their own brand and their own distribution companies and really, really making things happen and giving the big giants, the major record companies, a bang. Like, bang, I don't need you. Bang, I can start my own label. Bang, I can create my own beats. Bang, I can sell my own beats. And if I'm not mistaken, you can buy T-Pain's, auto-tuning, which a lot of rappers use nowadays in their music projects. So, after the explosion of the music millennial period, around 2007, 2008, it changed the game, and people realized that, wow, I don't have to buy the single from the record company at $3.99 a single. I can go to iTunes and download it for 99 cents, and I can get it like faster from iTunes than I could from the record company. So we're going to talk about this for a moment, and I also would like to say that the iconic, legendary Prince was very, very concerned for years regarding the beaming streaming, because nobody really knew how that was really going to affect the artists in terms of their royalty payouts. So certainly the old school artists had a lot of concern because they weren't quite really sure how that was going to affect their payout. But I'm going to refer to them as the new school artists. Well, they kind of understood a little bit better because of the internet. I'm telling you, you can find anything that you need to find on the internet. That's for sure, right? Anything you need to find, all you have to do is go to the internet. And so we're going to talk about it. So let's go on and get it started. All the big streaming holdouts are caving to the inevitable. Once upon a time, the Beatles refused to allow their music to be sold on iTunes. When they finally relented, they wouldn't play ball with streaming services. It took a few more years for that to get sorted, such as Prince. Before he died, I believe he had signed a distribution downloading agreement through Tidal, Jay-Z's streaming company. Now, since his death, he's on Spotify. I believe he's on Amazon. And there was some kind of alleged litigation with Tidal. I think the estate of Prince supposedly was trying to shut that down in terms of not streaming his music on Tidal. But Prince adamantly stated, and I remember seeing him on the Arsenio Hall show stating that the only streaming company that he was willing to work with and had already inked a deal with was Jay-Z's Tidal. But even as the Beatles' holdout on new technology ended, other artists remained outliers for digital files and or streaming, such as Garth Brooks, Bob Seger, Tool, as I mentioned, Prince, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Neil Young, Def Leppard, AC/DC, Taylor Swift, and there were a few others. Their position was unwavering. Quote, if you want these tunes, buy the CDs or vinyl, unquote. That is what those artists were saying, right? If you want these tunes, buy the CDs or vinyl. It seems crazy, no? And to be fair, they had a point. It used to be that a successful artist could rely on regular royalty payments from their back catalog year after year after year. These successful albums worked the annuities or retirement plan. Every few months, a nice fat check would arrive in the mail. The Beastie Boys used to sell a couple million copies of those. The Beastie Boys used to sell at least a couple million copies of License to Ill every single year. every single year. At one point, every single Doors album sold in platinum numbers every 12 months, and the number of Beatles records sold over the decades is staggering. But times have changed, folks. There's a reason. The Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, The Who, Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stones, Elton John, and so many other classic or so-called legacy acts are still on the road or are back to touring even as members reach into their mid-70s. Those once mighty sales royalties, money that allowed for a fantastic rock star lifestyle, are getting smaller and smaller. A different source of revenue is necessary. The most lucrative is playing live. Even contemporary artists like Taylor Swift and Adele know that after an initial sales pop, upon the release of a new album, they need iTunes and, more importantly, streaming if they're going to satisfy the needs, wishes, demands of their fan base. Time to accept the music industry realities of the 21st century. The number of iTunes streaming holdouts are shrinking and will continue to shrink. Those who still resist are looking more like luddites and risk being rendered irrelevant to millions of fans. Fast Company takes a look at the situation. The slow thaw in artists' discontent is easy to understand once you see the numbers. It's all about the numbers. Last year, streaming made up more than 50% of the music industry's revenue for the first time, as services like Spotify and Apple Music have reeled in more customers. Revenue from subscriptions has exploded, more than doubling in 2016 and driving an 11% increase in overall music industry revenue. That's right. After a more than decade-long dramatic free fall, the music industry is finally growing again, and it's mostly thanks to streaming. In 2017, it feels like we're officially moving past the debate about whether streaming is the right way forward for music, and more forward an acceptance that it's the future, albeit one with some critical questions still looming. And for artists, especially legacy musicians, shout out to the living legend Chuck Robertson, with big back catalogs, any remaining discomfort over the economics seems to give way to a simple fact. If your music isn't on streaming, you're missing out on millions of listeners from around the world as a new source of revenue. As more listeners shift to streaming, the holdouts become less evident. So just as it seems crazy that any artist would push back against allowing their music on iTunes, Tool, Def Leppard, what are you thinking? There will come a time in just a few years that the concept of not making your music streamable will be seen as career suicide. Times, they are changing again. Yes, they are. And you have to be ready to swim. Alan Cross is an internationally known broadcaster, interviewer, writer, and consultant and blogger. You can check him out on Google, and you can find a lot of insightful information from this gentleman. Now, I want to talk about some of the problems that I see every single day. As the general manager of Big G Artist Agency, we are a boutique-style entertainment services company. You can check out our website by going to www.getbiggaa.com. Some of the problems that I see every single day with up-and-coming artists is that they think they understand the business and they do not. When you are submitting your music to a booking agent or booking agency, for representation, especially when you are submitting your content unsolicited, meaning no one invited you to submit your music. You cannot submit your music and you're being uninvited and your music is sloppy. You haven't named your song. You send a WAV. Nobody wants a WAV file because it takes up too much space and it takes too much time to download. Number one, you fail to name your songs on the CD. You might have it just a bunch of 10 songs, no title. There's no information regarding the song title, the contributing artist, the album title, what track number on the EP or CD, whether it's copyrighted, who the composer is, or if you're with the label, information like that. Number two, you fail to send a nice photograph, of high quality graphics that depicts your brand, your music product, your brand. You fail to provide a comprehensible bio. And if you provide one, you do not use spell check. You have a gazillion errors. Or you use terms like, especially if you're from the New Orleans metropolitan area, F with me. When I receive an email from someone that I did not even invite to submit anything to Big G Artist Agency, and if it says F with me, I immediately delete it. I delete it. And I block that person. Because I'm not interested in working with anybody like that because they have no business sense. So if they're telling an agency, a company to F with me, can you imagine what they're going to tell the talent buyers? No. That's a bad luck. Another thing they fail to do is they fail to follow up. Even if they have provided something unsolicited but is really, really good, they fail to follow up in a week or so. They just automatically assume that we're supposed to contact them. Or if they submit information to the agency, unsolicited information, they fail to provide their contact information. They fail to provide a link to their website or any video links, so Vimeo links. They fail to provide their social media handle, Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or Tumblr, whatever the situation may be. So they make it hard for even a somewhat, I'm going to say, lax agent, somebody that's willing to give you a chance, give you a break. Somebody that has a couple minutes to take a look at that, because agent's job never stops. We work 24/7, 7 days a week. So just by chance, this particular agent is willing to give you 2 or 3 minutes of his or her time. They open up that email and it's crap. You just blew your opportunity of possibly being represented by a company that is going to work hard for you and put you to work. You just blew that chance. You shot yourself in the foot. You shot yourself in the foot because you were too lazy. Too lazy to do your homework. You shot yourself in the foot because you failed to contact that agency and inquired as to whether or not they are booking, artists. You were too lazy to get their telephone number and call and ask if they are accepting electronic press kits for submission, for representation. You failed to contact the company to find out who is the decision maker or to whom's attention should I send it to. Or do you guys accept electronic press kits by email, or do you prefer that I mail it to you? those are the things as a general manager of Big G Artist Agency that I have problems with, and I get so annoyed every single time I see that. I get totally annoyed because it absolutely makes no sense why some artists are so daggone sloppy. It makes no sense. You know, an ounce of cure, let me tell you, an ounce of cure can solve a lot of problems down the line. All you have to do is, if you don't know the answer, the internet is free, even at the local library. If you have a cell phone, get internet on your cell phone. Most cellular providers charge anywhere from $19.99 to $29.99 a month, but it is worth getting internet on your cell phone. See, even my studio audience know that I'm right. It's worth it, right? It is so worth getting internet on your cell phone, because you can use the internet from your cell phone for business purposes. Now, I just want to see by the sounds of hand clapping by my audience, how many of you agree with me? Thank you. Okay? So you should have, number one, you should have internet on your cell phone. You should always get the internet on your cell phone. Number two, if you do not have internet in your home, for whatever reason, perhaps you cannot afford it right now, it's not in your budget, utilize your local library. You can go to the library for free, and you can create a lot of projects. If you don't even know how to get on the internet at the local library, they're there to assist you. There is so much more that you can do to kickstart your career. Now, another thing I'd like to talk with you all about is quite often, as the general manager of Big G Artist Agency, remember to go to our website, www.getbiggaa.com. Quite often, artists submit their musical content to agents, to production companies, to record companies, and they have not even copyrighted anything. So what that means is, if you fail to copyright your music, your songs with the U.S. Copyright Office, that means that any third party can steal, S-T-E-A-L, your work and re-record it and copyright it and publish it, and there is not a dang thing you can do about it, because there is no such thing as a poor man's copyright. That's when you mail it back to yourself. There is no such thing as a poor man's copyright. Come on, audience, do you agree with me? There's no such thing. Okay, there's no such thing as a poor man's copyright. I don't know who even came up with that dumb idea, but for the person that came up with the dumb idea of the poor man's copyright, and a lot of people believe that, and a lot of people were ripped off, here's what I gotta say to you. Okay, that's what I say to you. So you have to educate yourself by any means necessary. You have to educate yourself. Ask questions. And if you don't know the answer, you can join networking groups on the internet. There are networking groups on the internet. It's free, and you can join these meetups in your community. You can just Google Meetup. I think it's called meetups.com, and you can go ahead and register for free. And you can select the type of meetup that you like to attend. They have so many different categories. It could be music songwriting, music production, beat making, whatever, booking, music business, whatever. And you can typically go to those meetings. They're usually held once a week or once a month or every 2 weeks. That is your opportunity to network. And quite often you're going to find a lot of highly experienced people in those meetup groups that can help you, that can help steer you in the right direction. I'd like to give a shout out right now to the lovely young lady, Jessica Curvy Queen May. She's from Hammond, Louisiana. She recently tried out at The Voice in St. Louis, Missouri. And Jessica, here's what we have to say to you. Everybody give it up. Give it up, everybody, to Jessica Curvy Queen May. Come on, give it up, give it up, give it up. Yes, I love Jessica May. Beautiful. Yes. She showed up and she showed out. And that is what it's all about. It's not about giving up. It's about putting your best foot forward and giving it your best. Putting your best foot forward and give it all you've got. You know, win or lose. Because if you have given it all you've got, you have not lost. You have not lost. And you are a winner. The only time you lose is if you fail to try. I'd like everybody to follow me, Jule Ducray. At the end of this broadcast, I want you to follow me on Spreaker, Spreaker. Sign up for a free account. Follow our radio station, Real Talk Big G Radio on Spreaker. And then you can go to our page for the radio station, Real Talk Big G Radio. Click on shows and you can follow all the shows or follow the ones that you like. Coming up are a couple new shows. They're going to be coming up in the next couple weeks. The first show is called Keeping It 100. Oh, you're going to love that show. That's going to be so totally hilarious. Then we have Power of Praise every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time with Pastor Wendell Sams of Divine Ministries located in Hammond, Louisiana. We're going to be giving you guys the best gospel music, meditation, and inspirational. It does not get any better than that. And that's for 2 hours. 2 hours of gospel meditation and inspiration every Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And in 2 weeks, we're going to kick off Power of Praise with Pastor Wendell Sams of Divine Ministries located in Hammond, Louisiana. So I'm asking everybody to support Real Talk Big G radio station. Also support all of our shows. I thank you so very much. I love you guys so very much. I'm going to be back next Monday, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time with all things music. Have a great morning and have a great start of the week. The love. Oh my gosh. Wendy Williams. Eat your heart out. Have a great day, everybody. I'll be back next Monday, 10:30 to 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great Monday.